not gonna be around.
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a second. Let's see, we're broadcasting. Then I have to click this button. Then I have to click this button. Then I check this stuff out.
It's your phone.
I never had this problem before you changed it.
Now we're doing it live.
You're a little loud, Ike.
Am I?
Yeah,
I think you're a little loud.
you're shut up.
Let me shut the door.
No, it gets hot in here.
Huh?
No, it's hot in here. Don't worry, we'll just keep having this live conversation.
Okay. Whatever you want, babe.
This could just be the show if you want.
It could be.
So we're probably on air. I don't know. It took me a while to figure this shit out. But I guess we'll just start this shit. Hey, internets. I'm Eric.
I'm Ike.
And you're still really loud. Like I told you, you're really loud. And
I just like yelling, that's all.
no, it's not that. You
What? I'm just yelling really quietly.
turn yourself down. I don't think you're using the mic you think you're using.
That would probably be it.
And you're listening to Just Cool Enough, the show where, hey, we got everything down. Things are figured out. Nothing's a problem. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah. See what happens. Am I still loud?
no, you're good. You sound better.
I figure maybe, Joe goes away, quits the show, and everything goes to hell.
Yeah, that's fucking how it goes. So let me take you back a couple of months. Joe fucking texts me or fucking calls me or fucking Facebooks or whatever the fuck, however he decided to get in contact with me this time, which is never the same time, by the way. He's always like, one time it's a text, and the next it's like Google Plus, and then it's like Facebook, and then it'll be on fucking AIM chat next time, I'm sure. And he can never just pick one form of communication. He has to change. He'll probably fucking Periscope or Meerkat me next. So he's like, I've got an idea, which always means, hey, I need you to do some shit. And I was like, fuck. And then, like, being Joe, he'll say something and then not respond. He'll like, I've got an idea, ... And then like 20 minutes later, he'll finally get around to telling me what the fuck he means. He's like, it involves us getting new listeners. And I'm just like, fucking, what do I have to do? Just tell me what the fuck you want me to do. He's like, nothing this time. I'm like, yeah, fucking right.
I feel like it's always those harebrained schemes that are too good to be true.
Yeah,
You're going to make $1 million, and you don't even have to do anything to do it. You just sit there, and you will get money.
Yeah, and every time I'm like, yeah, what does this fucking mean? What do you want me to do? So he's like, hey, I got this idea where we are going to do Just Cool Enough, and we'll stream it over on Alpha Geek Radio, and it'll be great. We'll gain new listeners. We'll bring our listeners to them. It'll be a nice cross-pollination of various things. And you don't have to do anything. Nothing at all. I handled it. I hammered out the deal. I'm the one broadcasting anyway, so you don't got to do nothing. All you got to do is show up like normal. We have to move the show half an hour earlier, but besides that, nothing. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, fucking, yeah, sure. What, if I don't have to do anything? Lo and behold, like a couple of days later, he's like, by the way, I need you to Photoshop some shit. I'm like, God damn it, I knew that. And then I knew that this day was going to come because it had to come, right? It obviously had to come someday. But Joe was like, hey, I can't do the show today, and I need you to do the show today. And by the way, fuck you is basically what he implied. But he does it like Joe. I will read you the correspondence. He sent this to both of us, but I knew full well Joe was not gonna, or Ike was not paying attention to any of this.
I read it. I just didn't care about it because it was a lot of steps that involved reading.
Okay. 9:21. I have a work emergency and I won't be on the show tonight. ...
Oh, I didn't get that one. Is this text?
No, this was all Google Plus. So that was at 9:21 in the morning. Then at 9:39, he says, almost 20 minutes later, he's like, I'm going to make a Google Doc on what to do to get on for Alpha Geek Radio. It's not so bad. 1:31 hours later, I made a how-to guide, blah, blah, blah. I sent it to everyone's email. I know I told you wouldn't have to do anything extra, but now he's like, but you should know by now that I'm a dirty liar. That was at 1:30, so that hours after he said he was going to. Then I replied, yeah, I didn't get any email. 20 minutes later, check Just Cool Enough. Nothing there. It's and then so it. And basically, it was like a 6-hour process for him to just send me the information. Then he finally did send me the information to get online. And then I'm like, great. So then I immediately, because I know Joe so well, tried to log in. And, of course, it didn't work because the password was wrong. I was like, yeah, I can't log in. He's like, oh, it's because I got the password wrong. Okay. Still can't log in. Are you sure it's the... It's like, oh, yeah, here's the right user information. I'm like, oh, fucking got it. So it's this whole... That was at 2 o'clock, 2:06, I finally got around to getting logged in and figuring out how to do all this shit. So, yeah, it's a long process of doing all this shit. And now I had to do it. It was easy. It just dealing with Joe is the hard part. So here we are, streaming on Alpha Geek Radio. Everything's going great. Fuck you, Joe. How are you, Ike? How's your week?
My week was pretty good. I think one of the highlights and lowlights of my week was playing D&D, since we can talk about it without Joe being here, is that I just get incredibly bored sometimes when there's a bazillion people who get to take their turn. So I find myself like playing Hearthstone while playing on a rare occasion. And this week I was actually pretty happy with the way things going. What I wasn't really whole 100% paying attention to was I won't name names, but the tank in our group died. And in retrospect, I'm pretty sure I was about 5 feet away from him and probably could have done some kind of probably medical check.
Yeah.
I might have failed, but instead I wasn't really paying attention to the fact that he died until I saw him roll the third roll, in which case he was permadead, at which point I ran away anyway.
Joe's not here. Fuck him. We'll talk about Dungeons & Dragons. Let's talk about Dungeons & Dragons for a moment. So we've been playing the Lost Mines of Phandalin, which is a campaign I've run a little bit. I've never completed, but I've run with Joe and Ike and their significant others, and I ran it with some friends for a session. So I'm pretty familiar with the campaign and the setting. So we're at Cragmaw Castle, which is like one of the last big parts of like the third chapter in this and I guess technically second chapter. It's like one of the big things before you get to the giant dungeon that you get to explore for 1 billion years or whatever. So we're there, and of course my team decides, because like always we've never had a real challenge, but unlike all the other times, we're only level 3, so we haven't really, and this is a very well balanced session, because it's made by the actual Wizards of the Coast people, so it's fairly well balanced for noobs and stuff like that. So we haven't really had that much of a challenge, and they decide, hey, there's a castle, let's just go in. Let's not use subtlety. Let's be as loud as possible. Let's just assume that every room can't hear what we're doing. And we are just constantly we kick in some doors. We find like 17 billion goblins. And then we start fighting them. And my monk, who's not a tank, he's a fucking monk. He's not meant to...
But he is the tank of the group, although not meant to be a tank.
The warlock has more armor than him. I'll just say that, okay? I think the engineer probably has more armor than him. He's not, but I could stay back with him, but I'm a true and true role player. I know what Odd Colin would do. Odd Colin the monk. He's not going to hang back and play it safe. He's going to defend people because he's very lawful good. So he jumps in, starts fighting, killing a bunch of fucking goblins, and of course more keep showing up because people are loud as fuck. And then some goblins run away, and then I say, okay, I'm gonna go fight these ones that just showed up. And then one member of our party, who will remain Ike, says, no, chase them. So he does. He chases the 2 goblins, kills them, walks into a room with 2 hobgoblins, fights them, chases them, walks into a room with a bugbear, a giant wolf, and fights them. And it's just constantly like running, killing, just like punching the shit out of stuff. And eventually his luck runs out and he gets fucking walloped to death. and he's lying there unconscious. While one of our members decides to take the long way around, and guess what? Finds more goblins. And so everyone's spread out. No one knows what to do. Finally, everyone gets to where Colin is when he's fighting, right as he goes down. Two separate people, Ike and one other people, are literally standing right next to him as he's down. For the 3 turns he's rolling death saves. Any one of them at any point could spend their action to use to roll to stabilize him. And all you have to roll is a 10 plus your medicine, which I don't know what people's wisdoms are, but might be a 1. I
rolled a 1 on my after no good help roll just to test it out. I rolled a 1. But who knows at the time?
Yeah, who knows what? So he rolls the 3 saves. All of them are fails. Like not one success in the lot of them. Just 3 straight fails, and he's fucking dead forever. Which is the first character I've had that died forever that wasn't like a one-off character, but it was interesting. Luckily, the team finally the team sort of started paying attention because I only me and the GM noticed that I was dying. I was like, well, I'm fucking dead. And then like 20 minutes later, people are like, oh wait, what? Because it was like my turn in the turn order. It's like, oh wait, never mind. It's like, wait, why doesn't he get to go? Oh, because he's dead. He's like, oh, can I? I guess I'll. Can I on my turn? Can I cast? Cure wounds? Oh no, he's fucking dead. You should have done that like 3 turns ago when he was lying on the ground bleeding out. But no, you were too busy doing all your other shit. I guess I don't know. So,
well, and I felt bad because I was the one who was like, yeah, we should chase them because I only remember seeing 2 of them. And granted, it did kind of chain into other ones. But rather than following you at one point, because our other friend took the long way around and like almost got the crap kicked out of her, I decided to peel off and try to kill the ones that were following her.
And I understand that. But like,
I felt like that's a classic like Heroes of the Storm mistake. Like we're all going to meet here and kill this. And then on our way there, everyone gets distracted and only one person shows up, gets rolled.
And it's not just you. There's plenty of blame because one of our characters, I was there and you were like, well, I'm going this way. And one of them was like, well, I'm going to go this way and help Colin. And then literally his next turn, instead of helping Colin, he goes, oh, I heard a sound this way. I'm going to leave this room for a quick second to investigate. And I was like, fuck, my character's going to die. Because the one person who decided to come join me decided to fuck off for a second.
So we started the Save Odd Colin Fund, which, I'm curious whether or not you even want to come back.
I don't know. But it was also funny because after it was all said and done, they killed all the shit, barely made it, but only 1 permadeath. They decide to take an 8-hour rest. Then they go and fight an owlbear, which I knew was there because I knew the campaign, but I didn't say anything. They decide to go to the one room where there happened to be an owlbear lying around. And look, the GM was like, hey, you want to control the owlbear? And I was like, fuck yeah, I do. So I got to fight you guys with an owlbear. You guys did triumph over the owlbear. And then you found a scroll of revivification, but that only works if you've been dead for a minute, not 8 hours.
So I wonder if we had engaged right away, would we have been able to kill the owlbear in time and be able to res you? We'd almost have to do it immediately to keep the timer from, the 6-second turn timer from going off. But at that point, I think people were so messed up from the fight.
Yeah, I didn't think you probably didn't have a choice because the reason why you took an 8-hour rest is because you were all like, okay, we need to use all of our hit die and then rest and getting some of them back. So it was, so he was dead. But I'm like contemplating new characters. I got 2 ideas that I kind of like. I'm gonna have to talk to the GM about them.
Is one a young female bard?
No, that character still exists somewhere.
This could be the pre-story that led up to the others, to the rest.
Yeah, but then it'll get weird because then it's like then it's like Spider-Man and Ultimate Spider-Man and Superior Spider-Man, like they're all the same, like they're all a continuity, but they're in different universes, and like which one do you follow? It's like there's one where she was like turned into a 13-year-old girl and then shrunk into 5 inches tall, and that's where she is in that campaign. But then in this world, she's something like maybe she never turned like maybe she's more she didn't become basically just hit girl murdering things. Like it's
It's retcon. I mean, Marvel does it all the time.
Yeah. That's how comics work. Every once in a while, you gotta just shake it up.
You know, part of the universe, the incredible, flexible guy there from Fantastic Four is white, and the other part of the universe, he's black.
No, I think he's always white.
No, in the new movie, he's black.
No, the Human Torch is black in the movie.
That's what I meant. But wasn't he white in the original Fantastic Four movies that they put out?
Yeah, in the first Fantastic Four movies, the Human Torch was Chris Evans, and now it's this other guy. But it's funny, like, I was watching the Honest trailers, and they were like they cast a Mexican lady with blonde and put a blonde wig on her or as Sue Storm, and nobody cares because Jessica Alba is Mexican. You know, they gave her blue contacts and a blonde wig, but she is Mexican, and no one cares. But they cast one black guy as the Human Torch, and people freak the fuck out.
I know that new one's coming out this Friday. You gonna go see it?
Nope, not even the slightest. I'm excited though. The trailer for Deadpool came out, and that looks interesting.
I don't know. I watched it twice. I watched the Not Safe for Work version and then the other one. And then by the time I watched it the second time, I was already kind of sick of Deadpool's sense of humor. It was getting obnoxious.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I know Ryan, but I feel like that is kind of Ryan Reynolds' kind of forte. But yeah. I'm hoping it doesn't, turn out to be like the Green Lantern. Maybe,
yeah. We'll have to see. But he was probably like one of the better choices for Deadpool. Like that's why in Wolverine Origins when they're like, oh, he's Deadpool, and you're like, oh fuck, that's a good choice. And then they fucking sewed his mouth shut and they gave him laser eyes, and you're like, what? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want laser eyes?
Well, it's funny. They did a teaser trailer for the trailer the day before the trailer dropped, and it's just Ryan Reynolds in a chair, and he's like, from the studio that inexplicably sewed his fucking mouth shut for no reason comes Deadpool. But yeah, it seems like because there was this leak like a year or two ago that was all CG, and it seems like the trailer is they play up that moment. I think they just recreate that moment for the actual movie, but it's like him sitting on a freeway overpass. Then he jumps off, lands in a car, fights a bunch of dudes in the car while it's moving, making funny quips, and then crashes the car. And I think that's straight up. But I remember when that leaked, people were like, it was like all CG, but it was Ryan Reynolds' voice, and people were like, "Oh my god, I would love to see that movie." And Fox was like, "No, never gonna happen." And then people were like, "We fucking love it," and they were like, well, "Okay, well maybe we'll actually make that movie."
And I know my girlfriend's excited for Deadpool. It looks like it could be a decent movie as long as it doesn't get too obnoxious.
Yeah, it's interesting. Deadpool's one of those. He's one of those interesting heroes. It's like he's kind of like the new school in that like Wolverine was like this like this sort of anti-hero who in the 90s that not a lot of people knew about, but if you did, you really liked him and stuff. And now he's like the biggest of the X-Men. And then Deadpool has been like that in like the 2000s. It was like he's this like funny, irreverent, fourth wall breaking hero who not a lot of people knew about, but he had this real big indie following. And now he's like fucking all over, especially in the comics. They're like 3 or 4 different Deadpool comics at any given moment. So he's kind of oversaturating in the comics.
Well, and I like Pop Vinyls, if people didn't know that. And there are like 4 or 5 different Deadpool Pop Vinyls out there too, with like yellow and blue and red and black, and I don't know, it's confusing. And then one's the X-Men Deadpool versus the non-X-Men Deadpool. I feel like they need to sort their Deadpools out or bring them together into one universe, which I know was kind of one thing Marvel was working towards.
They did that. They had because they had this series where Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, where Deadpool goes around and kills every member of the Marvel Universe. And then once he did, he realized that the Marvel Universe will always exist because it's a response to historical fiction throughout the world. So then it became Deadpool kills fiction, where he went around like killing Moby Dick and Tom Sawyer and stuff like that. And then it became, because he did that, Deadpool kills Deadpool, where Deadpool went around and killed every incarnation of Deadpool in the multiverse. So that's, I mean, that shit existed. It's fucking weird. It got weird. But that's kind of Deadpool's thing.
I feel like they must have had a bunch of people sit around a table, get really high, and just throw out ideas and go, yeah, we're going to take all of them. We'll do everything.
Yeah. I mean, there's like, yeah, there's the Deadpool's just all over the place. There was I'm curious how the movie's going to work, if it's just going to be like Deadpool is this guy who's funny and says funny things while he straight murders people, which I'm fine with. But one of the things I like about Deadpool a lot is that it's like, he's not just funny. He fucking knows he's in a comic book. Like, that's his whole thing. That he's so insane that he actually realizes that he's in a comic book and references it and stuff. And it's kind of interesting. But that's kind of hard to do because it works in the comic some of the time.
See how it works in a movie.
It kind of worked in the video game a little bit, but not great. But video games are just never funny because they're just so hard to. It's almost if I hadn't played Portal and Portal 2, I would say that there cannot be funny video games because it's hard because they're just so hard to fucking make funny. But yeah, so it seemed from the trailer that he's just going to be funny quip guy, which I'm fine with.
And in a really roundabout way, I guess what I'm really trying to get at is, how is your week, Eric?
My week was not so bad. Honestly, not that exciting. I did some. Trying to think. I didn't do anything crazy. I went to some. Performed in some shows, I think, which were fine. Last night I went to a friend's comedy show and didn't win a Fleshlight, so it was a real disappointment. But yeah, nothing really crazy happened this week that I can think of, but something might have happened to you. I think you went to a rock and roll concert of some description.
Of sorts, yeah. I went to a Weird Al concert last night. It was pretty awesome. I've seen him 3 times now at the Zeitarian in New Bedford, and I'd say 50% of the show has been the same all 3 times over the last 4 years. To be expected, but he does a lot of classics. I can only imagine he's getting sick and tired of doing Eat It and I'm Fat because he comes out with the fat costume. Last time I saw him 2 years ago, at the very end, we stood out back for an hour to see him. And his manager came out and said, listen, he'll come out, he will sign 1 autograph, and he will take a picture. But he has laryngitis, it starts bothering him from singing, so he's not gonna talk too much. So I got him to sign the first copy of his first tape last time. This time I got him to sign the Alapalooza album, and thanks to my girlfriend, she gave him a tape too, and we got him to sign the Food album as well. So now I have three cassette tapes that have been signed by him. So it was pretty good time.
Not bad. I remembered Saturday I went to a sort of summer party. I guess the comic book store where we do all our improv bullshit at. They have every year they have Summerfest where they get they had one of those like inflatable water slides in the back alleyway. Which was great because we were certainly not in a drought and it didn't waste a whole fuck ton of water. And there were like water balloons and squirt guns and all kinds of shit.
Wow, really conserving that water there in California.
Yeah, we're like, what drought? Fuck the drought. But I was there and I dressed summery. I had a Hawaiian shirt and a backwards baseball hat on, and an orange backwards baseball hat, which you can see if I can figure it out right there. It looks kind of pink in this light, but I got it in the 90s when I was a child, when it was of style, and I still wear it to this day because it's so fucking 90s. But it was, I did that. I don't have swim trunks, and I don't like taking my shirt off in the pool, so I just kind of sat around. I didn't really know anybody, so I wasn't there for very long, and so it was your typical affair for me. I was just kind of like, wow, I don't know why the fuck I'm here. I probably should not be here, and then I left. Because I'm a well-adjusted person.
You don't want to walk around and just be like, hey, have you heard of Just Cool Enough?
No, God no.
I also picked up in my goings ons this week. I stopped by the local nerd store to see how much the books were there and whatnot for D&D, and I picked up some more pop vinyls. I got Diablo pop vinyl, and I got one of the dragons from Game of Thrones. But I also picked up these overly priced, tiny little like mystery boxes of Heroes of the Storm. So I got one of these little tiny Kerrigans that sits on my desk now, and my more favorite one is an Invisible Nova.
You got a real problem, man.
I do. It's a problem, but you know, first step to getting help is admitting you have a problem.
God damn it, man.
Where is Joe this week anyway?
He said he had a work emergency, whatever that fucking means. He probably was just I just had to take a real big shit. I don't know. I don't know what his job, like his job. I don't know what he does or where exactly he works. For sure, because I think wherever he works does like things for other companies. So I never know exactly what his job is or who he does it.
I think he's still part of the mafia, to be honest. Because he goes overseas to Germany. You're never quite sure what he does, but he does have to take certain times off where he's just left the country.
He has to like leave the country all the time. He's got all these like last minute things he has to do, and he's always like got these emergencies. And I'm sorry, but he didn't. He's a high school graduate. Like, what could he be doing? He didn't go to fucking college. He went to community college like me, and he didn't get a degree. I mean, like, what about his job is so fucking important? Like, I don't understand.
I know he worked for a printer company for a while. I don't know what the next step up is.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine like I'm not tooting my own. I'm never gonna I'm never gonna be a businessman. Like, he seems like he does like business stuff, and I'm like, really? They I mean, it must be hard up for people in Michigan because I'm sorry, but I guess Joe can talk his way out of shit. So he probably he's probably doing a job that requires at least like a bachelor's, and he just fucking talked his way through the door. That's what I'm guessing, because I don't fucking know what the fuck he does.
I'm telling you, it's got to be like Mafia, or he's a secret agent or something, where he just he needs this as a cover. And then every so often he goes on a business excursion when really he's over in Germany assassinating people with a sniper rifle.
Yeah, it's possible. Like, he's one of those, like, takes his kids out to like fucking Disneyland one day, but he's really just there to assassinate the ambassador from North Korea who's in like fucking Irvine. So he has to like, oh, daddy's gonna go take a nap, you kids enjoy it. And then it's like, bye, daddy. And then he's taking out his his camera, and that turns into like a rifle. And then he's like,
I was just perusing through the emails, by the way. We do have an email.
Oh, I didn't check.
It's okay. It's I'm not too familiar with graphics cards. I don't know if you are.
Yeah, a little bit.
But this is from Danny. He says, hello, JCE crew. He didn't leave a subject. I was wondering if any of you guys knew anything about graphics cards. NVIDIA GTX 970 to be specific.
I know a little bit about it. I'm not an expert on it, but I mean the 970 is a very solid card. But there's plenty of places. I'm trying to find the specific location where I do this kind of stuff. But there's this website I always use to look at where they talk about the various graphics cards. And let me just type benchmark and see how that goes. It's like video card benchmarks. Is that it? Yeah, video card benchmark.net is a pretty interesting source. What you can basically search any graphics card. You can compare it to any other graphics card, and they have a couple of different breakdowns of like just graphics cards and benchmarks and whatnot. And they'll list things like what's like the high-end graphics cards, what's the most powerful one, but they also go like what's the best, like they have like another index which is like, you know, bang for your buck kind of stuff, like which of these cards, like the benchmark versus price. Like if you look the what on this, I'm just looking at the GTX 970 is not as powerful, or it doesn't hit quite the benchmark of one of these other cards, the 780 Ti. But if you look at like the value mark, it's slightly better. It's better than that on the scale, because so it's a pretty interesting resource. I mean, you could always go more in depth, like places like Tom's Hardware and stuff like that, if you're looking for it. But I hear it's a cool card. I almost went with that card until I decided to fucking just go ape shit insane and get the 980 because fucking I have more money than sense sometimes. So
You have money?
well,
That's what a job you got now, right?
yeah, and other things.
Rolling in dough.
Yeah.
Are you a Hitman too? Am I out of the loop? Is that what this really is a cover for? Are you and Joe both Hitmen?
Yeah, we just might be. But we're constant, like we're trying to kill each other. That's why we can't get a Just Cool Enough meetup, because we know as soon as we do, one of us will kill the other.
It's going to be like Mr. and Mrs., whatever that movie was there with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, except you guys won't be married.
Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Smith or Scott or whatever the fuck that movie was called. It's an interesting movie. It's a fun movie. You know, good action. I liked it. Speaking of movies, I keep finding more and more shit on Netflix that we need to do commentaries on, but we have to fucking sit down and pick a time, and then Joe's not fucking here. Because I saw 1999's Wing Commander on there. You remember Wing Commander?
I think I've heard of. Isn't Wing Commander a game?
Yeah, it was this game series that was only. I mean, my dad had it on his computer because you needed a. I don't know if you need, but it was like a CD-ROM based thing, or for his, you needed like a DVD-ROM, which was like back in the 90s was real rare. I mean, DVDs weren't even big for televisions, and you needed one for your PC to run it, or at least that, according. So it was this space flight thing, but they had like full motion video and stuff, and it was like it starred Mark Hamill and John Rhys Davies, and it was like humans versus cat people. Like weird anthropomorphic giant cat people, and it was a space fighter game. And by all accounts, people really enjoyed it, even as campy and fucking strange as the full motion video was. And then in 1999, they decided to make a movie about it, starring Freddie Prinze Jr. And it did have cat people, but they didn't they were never talking, and I think they only showed up at like the very end and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my god, that would be so fucking perfect. That movie is garbage. And then there's obviously Expendables 3 and Godzilla and just all these other movies that we need to do commentaries on. And fucking Joe won't ever figure anything out.
Well, I'm sure he'll make a date and then tell us he can't make it now, but before.
Yeah. Work emergency. National Treasure. I feel like National Treasure would be another great one. But
I would agree with you. Any of them really in that series.
I wish there was a way in Netflix to like set up a playlist. Like you can do that in most things. You can like on fucking Hulu. You can set like if I can set up not just have a list, but like a separate playlist of just like all the movies that are just specifically for commentaries. Like because I wouldn't like watch Wing Commander on my own, but you know I would watch many of these other movies. But it's like then they get like mixed up in my list. You know, I got like Wing Commander next to Daredevil, next to Enemy at the Gates, or you know, next to The Rock's Hercules, which I haven't seen yet, but I feel like might be trash. I don't know.
I didn't know The Rock did a Hercules.
It came out last year. And what's funny about it is apparently like in the trailer shows him like fighting all these mythical beasts, but apparently it's all a fucking lie, because that's like all the trailer showed was like one, like the whole thing is like he's just like a normal dude fighting in wars and shit like that, but people made up this story about him fighting mythical beasts, and that there's like one like montage scene of somebody making that shit up, and that's all the trailer showed. So you think apparently you go to the movie thinking it's like, you know, it's like another fucking mummy movie or some shit where it's like, oh, it's The Rock and he's fighting all kinds of monsters and stuff. It's like that movie. No.
On a completely unrelated but still awesome thing, speaking of looking at media for interesting pop-ups, the Blizzard client. If you open up your Blizzard client now, you'll see Overwatch popped up on the list of games you can click on.
Yeah,
left-hand side.
that simultaneously excited me and then pissed me the fuck off because I woke
When you
up this
realized
morning.
you can't play it.
I booted it up because I was like, oh god, I only got like 17 hours in my 7-day trial of World of Warcraft, and I was like, Overwatch, and then you open it and it just says learn more. I'm like, no, fuck you. My hope is that because tomorrow at Gamescom, they are going to apparently announce, they are announcing the next expansion for World of Warcraft. And I'm hoping alongside of that, they say, by the way, Overwatch is out for everyone in the beta. So I would love if that were true. It might not be, but God damn it. I wish it were. Because they announced a new hero.
Yep.
So I don't know. It seems like a fucking crazy game that I want to try. But
They also announced the Monk and Rexar for Here's the Storm and a new Diablo map for people who are interested in that game.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I purchased the Hearthstone pack that just came out for the new Crusader.
No, I don't do that. It's a free to play game. I don't spend money on that shit.
The Grand Tournament, it's $50 for anybody who's not familiar with it, and you want to get the Grand Tournament stuff. It's $50 and a free card, I use air quotes, card pack back for your cards. And it's typically about $2 a pack, so you're saving $50 to get 50 packs.
Or you could not. You could free to play all that shit because why give them money? But
Because I stopped paying for World of Warcraft.
it's true.
And I have to pay for Kwyn's, salary somehow.
Yeah, I mean, you and a lot of other people stopped playing World of Warcraft, but not as many as you would think. Because apparently, in a business call or some shit with their investors or see whatever shit, apparently World of Warcraft dropped down to 5.6 million players, which is the lowest it's been since 2005 or 2006.
They lost 1.5 million subscribers since.
Yeah, which makes them. Which is just devastating because it now makes them still more popular than all other MMOs combined, which is unfortunate for them.
I think part of it is people are sick of this and they'll come back in the expansion. I know some people say maybe the movie will generate more enthusiasm for people to either come back or try the game.
I could see that. I could see the movie sort of dragging people back and the next expansion dragging people back because I was playing. I don't know, because it seems like this go-around, I'm not as invested in the story, and I don't know why that is, because I got the expansion, and I played it, and, got to 100, and there's a lot of really great stuff in it, but I wasn't as invested in the story, though they did a great job of, introducing you all the main, the main orc bad guys, and, showing you all these guys really early on, and you get to see them, which is, a great thing that they did. But I just didn't really care.
They wanted to do that because after they saw Illidan, where you really didn't get much of a glimpse to a mid to late game, that people weren't really as into understanding how important he was to the storyline. So this time around, they were trying to make.
Yeah, they've been doing that. They've been doing that for a while because I think it was in Lich King. I remember
he kept showing up.
Yeah, the Lich King. You see the Lich King a bunch of times. I remember at one of the first quests in Lich King, my gnome was running around, and he ran into the Lich King, and the Lich King choked him to death. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's awesome. So they're good about that and introducing. But I don't really, I get it, but there's this whole weird thing about that I've struggled with this game is that it takes place in the past, but an alternate past that doesn't exist. It's Draenor before it blew up, but a different Draenor than we ever knew because... you
can still go to the new Draenor or the current Draenor.
Yeah, the actual blown up Draenor. So it's Draenor before Warcraft 2, but a different Draenor than existed before Warcraft 2 because because the orcs never corrupted and stuff like that. So it's this whole weird thing. And the last raid instance is all because I did the first two instances, and I'm working on the second one, which I'm not going to finish because apparently it's not out for another. All the wings aren't out, but it seems like the last raid instance, unless there's going to be another one, is all Gul'dan and the Fel shit. Which I was like, oh well, then I don't really care about that because there was a lot of cool moments. There's this great moment where you actually get to help Thrall fight Grom Hellscream, But that's at like level 50 or 98. Like that's not, or maybe 100. Like, but that's not a raid instance. That's just a quest you can do. And I cared more about that fight than I did any of the other stuff because it felt like it affected the worlds more. I don't know. It's all, and it just I felt this detached. Like I remember I re-upped before the expansion came out so I could do like the Iron Horde invasion stuff. The Iron Horde invasion stuff was horseshit. Like all the other times they really do like a really awesome job of like showing you like how this affects the world. The Iron Horde invasion, it's like, hey, there's some orcs that are level 90 in the Blasted Lands. You can find them or whatever. I'm like, no thanks. I mean, fucking Cataclysm, a dragon blew up the world, you know? I understand that.
That was, I mean, it did kind of remind me a little bit of the original, what was it? The original opening of the portal, because you could go fight and get, no, Lich King. There was the Lich King one where the undead were popping up and you can get like gear off of them. But like you said, it felt much more like the Lich King was sending these armies out to invade and tried to hold them off.
And they were all over the place. They were all over the two continents, which was interesting. This is in one location and just a couple of orcs. You know, it's in this area that has never been. I mean, the Blasted Lands has always been a shitty area post and pre-Cataclysm, and this didn't do it. Like it didn't go, oh fuck, they're fucking up the Blasted Land. Like it's the fucking Blasted Lands. Who gives a shit? If they were like storming through fucking like Nightshade or fucking like Ashenvale, then it'd be like, oh, that's interesting. But no, they're in the fucking Blasted Lands. Who gives a shit? It's literally lands that have been blasted into nothingness. So it's like, oh, they're in that place that's mostly just dust and rubble.
Let them have it.
Yeah, they fucking have it. I don't care. In a week when the expansion launches, we'll fight them on the other side. I mean, there's a lot of cool moments. I just feel like I wasn't as connected because Burning Crusade, it was just, you know, hey, it's a new thing. That's why you're connected. Lich King, you know, the fun invasion stuff, which was great. And then like going into the world and then facing the Lich King on a, you know, just seeing him immediately and stuff was fun. Cataclysm, a fucking dragon broke the world. So that's like why you give a shit. Mists of Pandaria, you're like, the guy's like, hey, we're going to go fight some fucking orcs and get on this boat. And you're like, shit, yeah. And then a fucking kraken attacks you. And you're like, fuck. And so like you're like, what's all this shit? You know, oh, no, that was Cataclysm. But, you know, you're like, hey, go to this island, explore it, figure out what it's all mysterious. Again, I didn't think Miss was interesting. But the end of it was, hey, fight Grom Hellscream. And you're like, yeah, I know who that guy is, you know?
Well, and I was looking at some of the potential spoilers, by the way. I was looking around the internet because you can believe everything on the internet. One of the big theories seems to be that they think the next expansion is going to be the South Seas stuff. So a lot of pirate-related, water-related stuff going on. I mean, if that is true, I'm going to find out tomorrow. I'm just saying, if you go back and listen to Warcraft Anonymous back from like 2006, 2007, you'll realize very early on, Hiko and I actually had a discussion where we assumed that this was going to be one of the first 4 expansions to come out. I mean, so I'm just saying we picked it. So, and I told Hiko about it the other day. He was like, well, listen, he's like, either we had enough foresight or maybe they weren't sure what to do for the next one. They went back and listened to old Warcraft Anonymous and found some ideas there. So
that's it. I mean, that could be interesting, but I don't know if pirates is enough of an aesthetic to lay in a whole MMO. If there's enough, I mean, how much variety can there be in the sea and different islands? But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'd have to wait and see.
I mean, the other guess was, and we've still yet to see it, so we were a little off of this, was the Emerald Dream.
Yeah, I could see that too. I mean, that would be an interesting, just see what, but because people talked about the Maelstrom being a whole underwater sea thing. But when we saw that in Cataclysm, we saw what the Maelstrom was, and we had a zone that was underwater. But if that was a whole fucking expansion, I think it would be not worth my time. But yeah, the Emerald Dream could be interesting. We've kind of seen bits and pieces of that in various things, but we've never seen it like a whole fucking thing that was the Emerald Dream, which, you know, who knows?
We'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah, because I guess at this point, Like, and I remember when Burning Crusade came out, I was like, they could just fucking invent shit because now we have portals that can go to any dimension. So it doesn't have to be anything you've ever heard of before. We could go to space. We've never done that, so maybe I still hold out hope that we could go to space because fucking Draenor is another planet. But now that we went to space, but back in time in an alternate dimension space, now it's kind of like, what the fuck kind of crazy shit is that?
So now they're going to link StarCraft and Warcraft together.
The people have been theorizing that forever, that the idea that it's all just one universe.
But I mean, it kind of pulls from that idea in Heroes of the Storm, where they've gone into different parts of, whether it be alternate or the same universes is still up in the air, but clearly they're all linked somehow.
Yeah. What's the next expansion? It's just Overwatch. They just say, hey, you pay $15 a month, you can play Overwatch.
I'm sure people will probably do it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Now, the other thing that I meant to ask you about, and because my mind wanders, I can switch back and forth between topics with ease. How I heard that you went and saw a movie over the past week that I was thinking about seeing with a certain Tom Cruise in it.
Yeah. I saw a movie where Tom Cruise held onto a plane as it took off. And it wasn't CG. He did it for real. They took 8 takes. I went to see Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. I've always kind of liked the Mission Impossible series, especially after 3, once J.J. Abrams took over and they kind of changed the direction of it. I liked it. That one was a bit, the Mission Impossible movies are always really interesting because each one has a different director that brings their own like sort of thing to it. Ghost Protocol was great. It was this really nice spy movie with a lot of like Mission Impossible stuff, and the whole like point was like everything, nothing ever works, which I like. But this one, it was just a lot of fun. All of the action scenes were really nice, and what I thought was really interesting is because Simon Pegg was in the third one as sort of just a funny like guest actor. Then he was like kind of a prominent part of the next one. And this one, he's basically the sidekick of Tom Cruise the entire movie, which is great. But it kind of works because the whole movie is a lot funnier than I think any Mission Impossible has ever been. It feels like a sort of Avengers, Marvel kind of level of humorous kind of film. Like there's physical humor, there's a lot of funny quips that people have and stuff like that, and just the action stuff. But then it does have serious moments as well. So it does have that sort of a Marvel level of like humor to it, like which I thought really worked.
So would you recommend this movie?
I would. If you're looking for something fun to watch, where a lot of really cool stuff happens, and a nice blend of practical and CGI effects all over the place, and Simon Pegg does a lot of screaming, then watch this movie.
I'm a huge fan of Simon Pegg. I hear he's going to be in Star Wars.
Yeah, I think that's what's funny to me, because J.J. Abrams saw Shaun of the Dead and loved it, like anyone who's seen Shaun of the Dead, because it's a perfect movie. And they said, hey, Simon Pegg, you want to do this stupid part in my movie called Mission Impossible? He's like, fuck yeah, I do. And then he did it, and he was like on set for a day and a half or some shit for that. And then J.J. Abrams was like, yeah, it was fun working for you. You want to be Scotty? He's like, fuck yeah, I do. He's like, yeah, great. I'm doing this little thing called Star Wars. Do you want to be in it? And then he simultaneously came and passed out, I'm guessing.
And so I think it will be interesting to see where he ends up in Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't know if they've said what he is in it, but he's definitely in it. But I'm a big fan of Simon Pegg. And I think it's funny just how the trajectory of his career, it's been a real slow burn. He's like, he did his own stuff in like the 90s. He had that TV show that did well for himself, but not great. And he started to do stuff. He did Shaun of the Dead, which did really great for him, cult-wise. And then it's like he did a couple of movies, and then fucking bam, now he's like fucking all over the place and everybody loves him. And you're like, oh, fuck. And it feels, with Simon Pegg, it definitely feels like Local Boy done good sort of thing. It's like, oh, it's that guy I love. It's great. I know that guy.
He's slowly becoming one of those actors that regardless of what he's in, I kind of want to go see it because he's in it.
Yeah.
But very few of those actors. Like Morgan Freeman could be terrible. I will go see it.
Yeah, like the movie Paul, it was okay, but Simon Pegg and Nick Frost were in it, so I loved it. He did this movie Run Fat Boy Run, which was okay, but he was in it, so I loved it. So that's
I didn't like The World's End, but I enjoyed it because.
I love all three of those movies: the Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. But yeah. Now I'm just looking at his IMDb page at all the things I haven't seen. Like oh yeah, he was in that TV show Mob City that didn't last long. I'll have to check that out. Just see him in anything. One of those guys. He's like a more successful Bruce Campbell.
Yep. Who's actually doing Evil Dead, the TV show on Stars, I think, or Showtime.
Yeah, local boy done good.
Yeah, but I feel like Bruce Campbell never really made the attempt, whether or not it was because he couldn't or didn't want to really go places. He just let the cult following kind of carry him wherever he would go.
No, I think he tried. It just didn't go anywhere. I mean, he did the Evil Dead movies, and they did well enough. And then he got Briscoe County Jr., which was supposed to be his big break, but that show didn't really ever take off. And then he did Hercules and Xena for a while, and he's doing a bunch of like smaller movies. So he never really got past that B-list actor thing. And his biggest breakthrough role is Burn Notice, which is a show that only your dad watches. Like, I don't know anyone who watches it, but it's like that's the thing that like his grandchildren will never have to work because he was on Burn Notice. So that's how that's gonna go. Like it's certainly not DVD sales for Army of Darkness or it's royalties from Xena Warrior Princess. Burn Notice is what's putting his grandchildren through college. But yeah, so.
Speaking of Xena, they're supposedly remaking it because everything nowadays is just a reboot.
Yeah.
Of course, X-Files is coming out next year.
Yeah. I tweeted earlier today, what a time to live in. You can watch it's new episodes of all your favorite 90s shows, but all the actors are fat and phoning it in. Because every 90s show is now being remade. Or not remade. They're either being remade or they're coming out restarted. Like Full House is coming back. X-Files is coming back. Twin Peaks is coming back. Just every Wet Hot American Summer just got a TV show. That's not 90s, but yeah, like everything's just coming back because they realize nostalgia is easier to sell than new ideas, which is not surprising because I think there's a lot more backlash against reboots than they thought because for the longest time they were like, let's just do that thing over again with new people. But I think the market that they were aiming for didn't work. That's the thing about Mission Impossible. It came from an era in the 90s when like every show from like the 70s was being remade, including Mission Impossible, into movies, and none of them worked but Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible's still going.
I remember Get Start tried to come back, and that was an old TV show, and that flopped.
Yeah, the Mob Squad, just all kinds of these like really old fucking shows tried to come back as movies, and none of them worked except for Mission Impossible for some reason. Just lightning in a bottle. But yeah.
Don't forget the Terminator. That really worked.
Oh God. And it made enough money overseas that it's probably getting another one, even though Genesis was just so much hot garbage. Like just so much.
Well, it's because they, added it so they could make the next two.
Yeah, it's I didn't understand it. Like who? I don't want to like spoil.
They're rebooting the series.
They did reboot the series. I don't know. There's just so many like things that don't make any fucking sense about that movie. Like there's just a giant plot hole that they like. The biggest thing is the whole thing is Skynet sent Terminator even further back in the past to kill Sarah Connor when she was a girl. But somebody, and they never explain who, sent Arnold Schwarzenegger back to protect her, and he's the one who raised her, and that's why everything's so fucking different, or whatever the fuck. Who gives a shit? But they never explain it.
I don't think they want to because those are part of the next parts of the series.
No, I think they just decided they would add. They don't have an answer, and they'll make some shit up when they need to. But
I mean, you stayed for the after the credits, right?
No. Oh yeah, but who? by after credits, you mean when I watched the cam version I downloaded because I didn't feel like paying for it?
There's an after credit.
Yeah,
piece.
it's. And
Yeah,
then
I agree with you. I'm not making excuses that it was something good or that you missed something, but I think that they are arguing that they could set it up for later on.
yeah, maybe, but it has like so many ideas that and none of them ever work out. They don't put any time into any of the ideas to make them work. It's just a hodgepodge of crap. It doesn't make any sense, and it's just like it's nostalgia. It's like, hey, remember T-1000? Well, here's a liquid metal guy for no reason. Here's this guy for no reason. It's all stuff, and anything that all the really interesting ideas like don't go anywhere. Like I loved the idea of J.K. Simmons' character, the idea that back in the '80s he saved this cop's life. And now he's this fucking weird, obsessive guy who believes in all these conspiracy theories in modern times. But they never really go into any of that shit. Like how fucking weird that guy's life has been. Because to them, it's been an hour since they encountered him in 1982. But for that guy, it was 30 years. And now he's this weird, obsessive J.K. Simmons. And I love that idea. And I wish they did more stuff like it's just these little things. He like fucking steps on a bug and it's like, well, I won't think about it. And then they go to the future and it's like fucking El Nino's every day because somebody destroyed this rare bug. You know, that would be.
You bring up some good points.
Yeah,
but you know, who knows? Maybe the next ones will somehow rectify it. I heard that they were planning another Jurassic Park movie too.
Yeah, they're definitely planning Jurassic World 2, which, again, another soft reboot. But I didn't like Jurassic World all that much. And I get why people liked it. I'm not going to say, but it wasn't Terminator Genesis bad. I just didn't particularly enjoy it, but I understand why other people did. Genesis, I don't think anyone liked that.
I wasted my money seeing it.
Yeah.
The highlight to that is they have the guy who played the last Doctor in it. That was
They had Matt Smith in there for about a minute.
Yep.
He's like, "I'm Skynet, bye." Yeah. I don't know. Just a lot of really just annoying bits. There's so many bits that I thought could have worked so well. Like just all the stuff in the future of them fighting robots. That was great. That opening bit where they're fighting a bunch of robots with lasers. More of that, please. Can we just make that movie? Because we were promised that movie, and then Terminator Salvation came out, and we didn't get that movie. We got Terminator Salvation. We didn't get laser robot fights. I want laser robots.
Because they were like, bye, and they changed the whole universe.
Yeah. Everything you know doesn't exist anymore. Everything you know. And let's cast fucking two people that could not be any more less like the characters, and just it's just so garbage. It just trades in on the same thing. Problem I have with a lot of shit. It's like, hey, remember this thing? Well, we referenced it, so you must like it now. Yeah. Well,
I think we've come to the end of this show.
Hey, remember when the show used to be good? Well, I referenced it, so you like this episode now. So I think it's time we stop talking about all this bullshit and start plugging shit. My plug for this week is going to be on YouTube. You can watch the full movie of Space Jam 2. Now I know you might be thinking, wait a minute, Space Jam 2 hasn't been made yet. I beg to differ. All 3 minutes and 15 seconds of it by comedian Josh Fadem are now up on YouTube for you to watch. The epic sequel to Space Jam called Space Jam 2. And I gotta tell you, it's everything you could possibly hope for. So you can find that by going to the show notes at justcoolenough.com. Check out this episode. And while you're there, maybe look at all the other stuff we do on the website.
I went and looked up Space Jam 2, but I'm not sure which one I should click on.
The one in the show notes.
All right, I will click on the one in the show notes.
Or the one that's the thumbnail is just a white guy standing at a basketball court for some reason.
Easy enough to find.
Yeah.
I will plug this week. I had a good idea what to plug, but I decided to change my mind. Well, Epic Rap Battles of History. Go check it out. This week was Jim Henson versus what was it? Oh, Stan Lee from Marvel. Very good. I think it really speaks a really good message about exactly the goings on at Marvel and Jim Henson Company. It's totally worth it. Check it out. That's my plug.
All right. And I guess I'll just, again, you can always follow me on Twitter. I'm at Duncor, Duncor.
And I am at Railvis. It's Railvas.
And we got the website, justcoolenough.com. And you can always email us, like Danny did, at the show at justcoolenough.com, and maybe get that email read out on air. And God damn it, I can't get this piece. I got this fucking hair that keeps, like, I think I comb it down, and then I look, and it's like, boing. I'm a fucking mess right now. My shirt's not buttoned. I'm just all kinds of fucked up. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. And we will see you all.
And help Eric and I get over to Michigan in September. You can donate to the show, probably by clicking on the show notes somewhere or wherever. PayPal it. We got one donation of $50 last week. Any little bit helps. Help Eric and I get to Michigan. Yeah, that would be fun. But until next week, have a wonderful weekend and see you all later. Bye. Bye. Oh, God, fucking Joe.